Hi everyone, it's Marisa with BumblebeeApothecary.com, and today I'm going to take you along while I'm making a fun St. Patrick's Day Irish themed dinner. This is going to be Irish braised corned beef brisket. So you probably know that you can buy corned beef in the store, but unfortunately these often contain lots of additives that we like to avoid, like nitrates, nitrites, and different things like that. And so I've discovered that it's actually very easy to make your own corned beef brisket at home with just fresh brisket that has not been cured or anything done to it. So I have some nice grass-fed beef brisket that I'm using to make this, and I have several pieces of this that we get when we buy a whole beef at a time. And so to prepare this, I have my oven preheating to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And the first thing that I'm going to do after turning on my oven is to put some tallow into the bottom of my cast iron Dutch oven and get that starting to melt on around medium-high heat. I let it accidentally get a little hot. Oops. So I took it off of the heat and so that it doesn't get super smoky or anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my brisket right into that tallow. I want to try and kind of sear the outside of the meat. Now it's a big piece of brisket, and so as you can see, I'm having a little trouble fitting it into the pan, but I'm doing my best to get it down into that hot oil, and I'm just going to let it sear for about 4 minutes on one side and then flip it over and try to do 4 minutes on the other side as well. And then while I'm waiting for that to sear, I'm going to go ahead and chop up some onion. So I have 2 onions that I'm cutting into about 1-inch chunks. And then I'm also peeling 6 garlic cloves and then cutting them in half lengthwise. And then I'm also going to get to work on the other vegetables, so I'm peeling some carrots. And then I'm going to sprinkle some spices on top of the brisket. So I'm doing 2 teaspoons of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of caraway seeds, 1 teaspoon of coarse ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme leaves, 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove, and that just makes a really delicious brisket seasoning. It's so tasty. And after I've gotten the spices on there, I'm going to go ahead and start adding the vegetables. So I am chopping the carrots into bigger chunks because this is going to be a longer, slower cook time. Chopping up those onions and adding them, and then slicing those garlic cloves in half and adding those. I'm also adding in 4 bay leaves, and then I have some cabbage as well, and some little fingerling potatoes. So I'm putting those potatoes in there, and then I'm getting my cabbage ready. So I'm cutting the cores out, and then I'm cutting the cabbage into wedges and adding those. As you can see, my pot is getting pretty full. This makes a lot of food. And then for the liquid, you have a couple of different options. You can do a beef meat stock or beef broth. I'm actually doing something a little bit different, and this is something that I almost never do, but to make this very festive for St. Patrick's Day, I'm actually using some very dark Irish beer and putting that in there. So obviously, if you are staying away from starches and different things like that, you would leave the potatoes out, you would not do the beer, but just for a special occasion, I'm doing that because it does give you a really nice, dark, and rich sauce that everything cooks in, and it does taste amazing. So I'm adding 2 cans of that, and then I'm putting my lid on, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put that into my oven. And then the cook time is what I usually do for beef, so 4 to 6 hours ends up working well for this. I check it after 4 and see if it's nice and tender and easy to slice. And if it seems like it needs some more cook time, then I'll let it go for an hour or 2 longer, depending on what it needs. And then after that cook time is complete, it is time to pull it out of the oven and serve it and enjoy. If you want to add some fresh green color, you can also garnish it with some fresh parsley when you serve it too. But you want to make sure that that brisket is nice and tender so you can easily slice it against the grain, and then you can serve it with all those different vegetables with it, and then I like to ladle some of the sauce over it as well. And then for the fermented food on the side, we're having some sauerkraut. A couple of tips to know is the internal temperature of the meat should reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit when it's done, just to make sure that it's fully broken down and nice and tender. And then if you can remember to put the brisket into the pan on its final side, fat side up, that helps ensure that it gets as tender as possible. So those are some things to kind of keep in mind to help this turn out really well. But I hope that you enjoyed seeing this recipe that's wonderful anytime, but makes a really fun, festive Irish St. Patrick's Day meal this time of year as well. I know that we definitely enjoy this anytime that I make it. As far as the written recipe, I'm working as fast as I can always to get each written recipe up on my website. I have lots of them up there already at bumblebeeapothecary.com, and I'll get this up there as soon as I can as well. Be sure also to check out that description box for links to free ebooks and other things that I've made for you guys. I have meal plans and all different kinds of things. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else you think would enjoy it, and if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I get out new videos every week on nourishing recipes and natural living. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.